Hey there, and welcome to the Soft Luxe Traveler, a podcast for those who love elevated travel, unforgettable bites, and finding the sweet spot between luxe and low key. I'm Larita, a traveler who loves flying solo, adventuring with my husband, and sometimes planning group trips that just flow. Here you're going to get some honest travel tips, dreamy ideas, and everything I've learned from experiences that didn't always go as planned, but were totally worth it. Let's dive in and wander together. So, in today's episode, we're just going to kick it off with why did I want to start the podcast? Well, I wanted to start the podcast because I've been traveling for the past 27 years, and each year I feel like my travel taste changes. Sometimes dramatically, sometimes not as much, but it changes in terms of the uniqueness and what I like, what I don't like. And I think that many people find that each year or each time you travel, you sharpen and kind of hone into what your travel preferences are. And so over the years, that's been the same for me. And I think that I like to share what that experience has been like. Many people have asked. And so here I am to actually share that. And it doesn't always mean or translate into more money. I think that what you like is what you like, and that no one should allow others to define what luxe is for them. Only you can determine what is luxe for you. So I'm sharing you my experience. Next thing that leads right into what does soft luxe mean to me? What it means is that I get to feel like a princess. I get to feel soft. I get to feel stress free. I get to feel pampered and in the destination and in the way that is appropriate for me. Everybody has different tastes, they have different budgets. So for me, I'm not about the stress. I'm all about the soft vibes, the warm vibes, and just that soft life. So if it's going to be stressful or if the itinerary is going to stress me out, chances are that's not going to be that soft luxe for me. I like to have a little bit more leeway into my itinerary, put some flexibility into it. Doesn't mean that I just like to go on the cuff or just on the fly. Typically, I do have a structured itinerary, but it's not too structured to where there is no flexibility. But I like to make sure that I'm feeling pampered and that I feel like I can stay where I want to stay. I'm comfortable. Um, Even down to the hotels, to my flights. I just like that soft vibe of being not careless, but that it is not stressful. Like I don't want to stress over whether or not I'm taking, a Uber versus public transportation. I like to focus on what makes the most sense. So that's what it means for me. But for some, it can mean something different. Yes, I do fly first class, business class. I will even fly economy. It all really depends on what I'm going there for, what I'm doing. But I will tell you for international, it definitely is business or first class. Typically won't do that, but I am starting to fall in love with premium economy. But we'll talk about that in a different episode. What can listeners expect? What you can expect from me is an honest opinion. While I am a travel agent, all of my travels I pay for myself, so they're not sponsored. I'm not paid to say this about any, whether it be an airline, hotel, experience tour, restaurant, any of that stuff. I am not. This is all what my experience is, and it is my opinion and what my perspective has been. So I'm going to share that with you and share what worked for me and what didn't work. From a personal story, I'm going to show you my first personal story. So I recently had a speaking engagement, and at the end of the speaking engagement, I decided to do a Virgin Voyage cruise. Now, I've done about 13 or 14 cruises in my life, and in the past, I used to really enjoy cruises early on in my 20s because it was just really great. It was cost effective, lots of activities, all, great fun. But as I've gotten older, it's just not for me. I recognize it's not the travel style that I like. I'm not a buffet kind of girl, and I just don't enjoy being on a cruise ship with 3, 4, 5,000 people for a full week. That's just not my vibe anymore. However, I've heard really great things about Virgin Voyage, and again, as I mentioned before, I am an agent, so I was able to actually travel with them. I paid for, pay for my fare and my way to actually go, so it wasn't a free trip. But it was a great experience. But it did remind me of why I don't like cruising. I just don't like the vibe of being on a boat for that long. It was just 5 days, but just that feel of because I'm a foodie, I like to be able to go out to different restaurants. And even though the boats have a lot of different restaurants on board and the food was good, I am pretty particular around my food, and I'm particular around just what type of vibe I want to have, or the quality, even the temperature. I find that from all inclusives to cruise ships, many times the temperatures are not appropriate to the food that I'm eating. And that's just because you're serving it to the masses. And so that for me has not changed. But I love the vibe there on the boat. I love the energy on the boat. It was adult only, which was definitely my preference. I would have to say that if you love cruising, you will absolutely love Virgin Voyage if you want to have an adult only cruise, because you have more space in the cabinets. And I think because, again, they don't have to have the same type of storage that you need when you have children. But even the space, on the top decks, because you don't have to have those water slides and things of that sort, they can really space out the boats the way that they need to. And I think they did a great job with the ship doing that. I'm calling it a boat, but we know that it's a ship. And so I say that to say that again, if cruising is for you, Virgin Voyage is great. I think you'll have a great time. But if cruising is not for you, I don't think you'll be won over. At least I wasn't won over to a point where I would say, oh, yes, I want to do another cruise and I want to do it with Virgin Voyage. I just realized that cruising is not for me. And so in this whole soft girl, soft life era, I'm glad that I recognize that so that I don't have to waste my time or money on another cruise ship, even though I had a very enjoyable time there. The staff was amazing and the food was good. So let me make sure that I'm being clear. It was not as if the food was not good, but we all know that when you, for example, order room service at a 5-star at the Four Seasons in Tokyo, for example, that food's coming hot to your room if it's supposed to be hot. When you go to a restaurant out in Bangkok, or you're out in New York and you're ordering at one of the top Michelin star restaurants, that food is coming out the right temperature and it is amazing. So that's the type of foodie I am as well. And that's one of the reasons why, all inclusives and cruising is just not my vibe right about now. So I hope that was helpful for you in terms of just introductory, as to why I'm doing this podcast and sharing my first story. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me in our first episode of the Soft Luxe Traveler. If it gave you ideas or helped you escape for a few minutes, I'd love it if you'd follow and show my show here and share it with someone who needs a little bit of travel inspo. You can also find me on Instagram at Miss Traveling Diva _, or you can also follow me on YouTube at Miss Traveling Diva. I'm always down to swap tips and answer questions. So until next time, keep things soft, luxe, and totally you.